The knife slipped from her trembling hands the moment she saw him. Ta Jun, Seoul's most feared mafia boss, standing in a restaurant. And when his eyes dropped to her swollen belly, 8 months heavy with secrets, the room went deathly silent. Kate's hands shook as she tied her apron in the dim light of the kitchen. 8 months pregnant, swollen feet screaming in protest, but rent was due in 3 days. The cramped kitchen of Mama Chen's noodle house smelled like sesame oil and desperation, a far cry from the life she'd once known. "You okay, sweetie?" Mama Chen asked, her wrinkled face creased with worry as she chopped vegetables with practiced precision. "I'm fine," Kate lied, rubbing her lower back. The baby kicked hard against her ribs as if protesting the 12-hour shift that stretched ahead. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. Tips were slow. Life was slower. A year ago, she'd worn designer dresses and slept in penthouses overlooking the Han River. Now she slept on a thin mattress in a storage room above the restaurant, hidden from the world. Hidden from him. She touched the faded bruise on her wrist, not from Ta Jun, never from him, but from the men who'd cornered her in that parking garage, their voices cold and final. "He's engaged to someone else. You're just a distraction. Leave now, or his enemies will use you to destroy him. They'll cut you open and leave pieces of you as a message." So she'd run. Pregnant. Alone. Broken. Across the city, Ta Jun stood in his penthouse office, staring down at Seoul like a king surveying his kingdom. The city bowed to him. Politicians trembled at his name. CEOs paid tribute. Gang lords whispered prayers he'd stay pleased. But none of it mattered. "Still no trace of her, boss," Minho reported, shifting uncomfortably. "It's been a year. Maybe she doesn't want to be found. She's alive." Ta Jun's voice was ice-wrapped in certainty. "And I will find her." Every night he saw Kate's face in his dreams, the only woman who'd ever looked at him like he was a man, not a monster. She'd vanished without explanation, leaving only questions and a hole in his chest that bled constantly. He'd burned half of Seoul's underworld looking for answers. Today, he'd burn the rest. His phone buzzed. A tip about a new restaurant in Itaewon. One of his lieutenants wanted to discuss expanding territory over lunch. He grabbed his coat. Fate was about to collide with desperation. Have you ever lost someone without knowing why? Drop a comment below. Would you keep searching or learn to let go? The lunch rush hit Mama Chen's like a tsunami. Kate moved between tables, balancing trays despite her belly, forcing smiles she didn't feel. Her lower back screamed. The baby pressed against her bladder, but bills didn't pay themselves. The bell above the door chimed. She didn't look up immediately, just called out the usual greeting while wiping down a table. "Welcome to Mama Chen's. Sit anywhere you'd like." Then, the restaurant went silent. That kind of silence that makes your blood run cold. The kind that happens when a predator walks into a room full of prey. Kate turned. Her heart stopped. Ta Jun stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 men in black suits. His presence filled the small restaurant like smoke, suffocating, inescapable. Expensive tailored suit. Cold, sharp eyes that had seen too much blood. The kind of man who could end lives with a phone call. Their eyes locked, time shattered. His gaze traveled down slowly, from her face to her uniform to her swollen belly. His expression cracked. Shock, disbelief, something darker. The tray slipped from Kate's fingers. Porcelain exploded against the tile floor, soup splashing like carnage. The sound echoed like a gunshot. She couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't think. Kate. Just her name. 2 syllables from his lips, but they hit like a physical blow. His voice, God, his voice still haunted her dreams. "No," she backed away, hands, instinctively covering her belly. "You can't be here." He moved toward her, and the entire restaurant held its breath. Customers froze mid-bite. Mama Chen's cleaver stopped mid-chop. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone understood the danger crackling in the air between them. "Don't." Kate's voice cracked. "Please, just don't." But Ta Jun's eyes never left her stomach. His jaw clenched. A muscle twitched at his temple. "Whose child?" The question was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of a death sentence. Kate's knees buckled. It doesn't concern you. Kate steadied herself against the counter, chin lifted despite the tears threatening to spill. You need to leave. Ta Jun's laugh was bitter, sharp enough to cut. Doesn't concern me? You vanished for a year without a word, and now I find you pregnant. We're divorced. The words burst from her like shrapnel. You made that very clear. His face went blank. What are you talking about? Don't play games, Ta Jun, her voice shook with fury and heartbreak. Your men came to me, showed me the papers, your signature, the engagement announcement to the daughter of the Choi family. I was just, what did they call it? A temporary distraction. I never signed anything. His voice dropped to something dangerous. I never wanted a divorce, and there was no engagement. Kate's world tilted. No, I saw... What did you see? He was closer now, close enough that she could smell his cologne, the same one that used to cling to her skin. Papers? Signatures? Pictures? She nodded, unable to speak. Who showed you? Your men, they said... Her voice broke. They said if I didn't leave, your enemies would use me against you, that they'd kill me slowly, cut our... She couldn't finish, her hand pressed against her belly protectively. Ta Jun's expression transformed into something terrifying, pure cold rage. Describe them. I don't... Describe them. Command, not request. One had a scar across his eyebrow. The other wore a jade ring. Kang! The name was a death sentence on Ta Jun's lips. He turned to Min-ho. Find him. Bring him to the warehouse. Alive. Min-ho disappeared immediately, phone already at his ear. Ta Jun's attention snapped back to Kate. That child, is it mine? The restaurant had emptied. Even Mama Chen had wisely retreated to the kitchen. Kate's silence was his answer. I'm not going anywhere with you. Kate backed toward the kitchen, but Ta Jun blocked her path with frightening speed. You're pregnant, working yourself to death in a restaurant. His eyes swept over her, the cheap uniform, the worn shoes, the exhaustion carved into her face. When did you last eat? Sleep? That's none of your... Her knees gave out. Ta Jun caught her before she hit the ground, lifting her like she weighed nothing despite her belly. Hospital, now. No! Kate struggled weakly. I can't afford... I don't care what you think you can afford. He carried her toward the door. Min-ho already called my private doctor. She's meeting us at my penthouse. Your penthouse? Panic flooded Kate's voice. No, I can't go back there. I can't. You don't have a choice. His grip tightened, not painful, but unbreakable. You're carrying my child? You think I'm letting you out of my sight again? Mama Chen appeared with Kate's worn backpack. Go, sweetie, I'll cover your shift. She pressed something into Kate's hand, crumpled bills from her own pocket. You need to rest. The car waiting outside was bulletproof black, windows tinted dark. Ta Jun placed Kate in the back seat with surprising gentleness, then slid in beside her. The door closed with a final, expensive thunk. Blood pressure? He asked into his phone. Elevated how much? A pause. Then we're going to Seoul General. Have Dr. Yoon meet us in the private wing. Kate stared at him. This man she'd loved. This man she'd run from. This man whose baby currently used her ribs as a punching bag. Why are you doing this? He turned, and for the first time since walking into that restaurant, his mask cracked. Because I never stopped looking for you, not for one single day. What would you do if someone you thought betrayed you suddenly showed up after a year? Comment below and hit that subscribe button. This story is about to get even crazier. The hospital suite looked more like a luxury hotel room. Floor-to-ceiling windows, cream leather furniture, technology that belonged in a science fiction movie. Dr. Yoon, a stern woman in her 50s, examined Kate with practiced efficiency. Blood pressure is dangerously high. When did you last have prenatal care? Kate's silence answered that question. She's been working 12-hour shifts on her feet. Ta-Jun said from the doorway, his voice lethal. In a kitchen, 8 months pregnant. Dr. Yoon's expression darkened. Complete bed rest. Immediately. Any more stress could trigger early labor or worse. She'll have everything she needs, Ta-Jun said. Not a request, a declaration. After the doctor left, silence filled the space between them like broken glass. Why didn't you call me? Ta-Jun finally asked. Even if you believed those lies, why didn't you ask me? Kate's laugh was hollow. Ask you? They showed me pictures, Ta-Jun. You and her at restaurants, your father's estate, her hand on your arm. Her voice cracked. The engagement announcement was in the Korean Business Times. Understanding dawned across his face. The merger. What? 6 months before you left, my father wanted to merge territories with the Choi family. I attended exactly 3 meetings. All business, all photographed. His jaw clenched. Someone doctored those images, made it look intimate. Your signature on the divorce papers was forged. He moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small space. Kong worked for my father before I took over. He resented me. Thought he deserved my position. His voice dropped. If he convinced you to leave, I'd be distracted, vulnerable, easier to overthrow. Kate's hand trembled as she touched her belly. He said they'd kill me, cut me open, and I know. Ta-Jun's voice went cold. That's exactly what Kang's done to others. He knew which threat would make you run. So I ran, and now... She looked at her swollen stomach. Now I've been hiding in a storage room, eating scraps, terrified every day that someone would find me, and... Ta-Jun knelt beside the bed. No one will touch you, ever again. 3 days in the hospital. 3 days of monitoring. 3 days of Ta-Jun refusing to leave her side. Kate woke on the 4th morning to find him asleep in the chair beside her bed, his hand loosely holding hers. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His usually perfect hair was disheveled. He looked human. You should go home, she whispered when his eyes opened. I am home. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Wherever you are, that's home. The baby kicked, hard against Kate's ribs, and she winced. Ta-Jun's eyes widened. Can I... She guided his hand to her belly. The baby kicked again, right against his palm. Something broke in his expression. That's my child. Yes. Our child. His voice cracked. I missed everything. The first kick, the ultrasounds, watching you grow. He stopped, jaw clenched against emotion. I should have protected you better. Should have known someone would try to use you against me. You couldn't have known. I should have. His hand stayed on her belly, feeling their baby move. After my mother died, my father told me never to love anything I wasn't willing to lose. So I built walls, made myself untouchable. He met her eyes. Then you walked into my life and shattered every wall I'd ever built. You saw me, Kate. Not the monster, not the reputations, just me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I thought you didn't want us. I want you more than power, more than territory, more than my own life. Leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. That year without you, I was breathing, but I wasn't alive. Ta-Jun, marry me again, properly this time, no secrets, no hiding. We're already married, she whispered. Then let me prove I never stopped being your husband. The hospital room door burst open. A woman in designer clothes stormed in. Elegant, cold, dangerous. Behind her, 2 security guards Ta-Jun didn't recognize. So it's true. Her voice dripped venom. The great Ta-Jun, brought to his knees by some pregnant nobody. Ta-Jun was on his feet instantly. Get out, Ji-woo. Ji-woo? Kate's voice was small. The woman from the pictures? Choi Ji-woo. The woman corrected with a cruel smile. His fiancée? Or did he forget to mention that? There is no engagement, Ta-Jun growled. Your father disagrees. Ji-woo pulled out her phone, turning it toward Kate. He announced it yesterday. Merger finalized. Wedding set for next month. You didn't know? She laughed. Of course you didn't. You're just the mistress he knocked up. Kate's face went pale. Is that true? Kate, did your father announce an engagement? Ta Jun's silence was damning. He did it without my consent, he said finally. I told him no. I told him I was married, but you didn't tell him about her, did you? Jiwoo's smile was victorious. Didn't tell him about the baby, because you knew he'd never accept it. A black woman? A nobody? Carrying the Ta heir? She turned to Kate. You actually thought you'd be welcomed into this family? Leave. Now. Ta Jun's voice was deadly. Or what? You'll choose her over your empire? Jiwoo laughed. Your father will disown you. Your men will scatter. The families you've kept in line will sense weakness and tear you apart. She leaned closer to Kate. Is that what you want? To destroy him? Kate couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Don't listen to her, Ta Jun said. But the damage was done. Kate saw it in his eyes, the conflict, the impossible choice. Family or her, power or love, everything he'd built or everything they could be. I can't do this. Kate's voice broke. I won't be the reason you lose everything. Kate, leave. Tears streamed down her face. Both of you, just leave. Tajun didn't leave the hospital. He couldn't. Instead, he stood in the hallway, phone pressed to his ear. Gather the families, all of them, tonight. Boss? Minho hesitated. Your father already called a meeting about the Choi merger. Cancel it. Tajun's voice was ice. Tell them I'm making an announcement. Anyone who doesn't show answers to me personally. In the hospital room, Kate sat alone, one hand on her belly. The baby kicked restlessly, sensing her distress. Mama Chen appeared in the doorway carrying a container of homemade soup. Sweetie. I have to leave, Kate whispered. I can't let him choose between me and his family. I won't be the thing that destroys him. And if running destroys you both? The old woman sat beside her. I've lived through war, child. Lost everything twice. You know what I learned? She gripped Kate's hand. The only thing worse than fighting for love is never fighting at all. But his father? His father is a man. Men can be changed, challenged, convinced. Mama Chen's eyes were fierce, but only if someone has the courage to stand up first. Kate touched the place where her wedding ring used to sit. What if I'm not strong enough? You survived a year alone, pregnant, hiding in fear. Mama Chen squeezed her hand. You're stronger than you know. Down the hall, Taejun ended his final call. Everything was in motion. His father would be furious. The Choi family would retaliate. Some of his own men might turn. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Kate's face, heard her laugh, felt her hand in his. He'd built an empire on fear. Tonight, he'd burn it all down for love. He walked back to her room, pushed open the door. I choose you, he said simply. I will always choose you. The conference room in Tajun's headquarters held every major family head in Seoul. His father sat at the head of the table, face like carved stone. Ji-woo and her father flanked him, radiating smug confidence. Tajun walked in with Kate beside him, his hand protectively on her lower back. She wore simple clothes, no designer dress, no makeup, just herself. 8 months pregnant and terrified, but standing. The room erupted in whispers. Silence. Tajun's voice cut through the noise. I called this meeting to make one thing clear. He faced his father. There will be no merger, no engagement, no alliance with the Choi family. You dare, his father began. I dare. Tajun's hand found Kate's. This is my wife, Kate. She carries my child, your grandchild. Anyone who disrespects her answers to me. She's nobody, Jiwoo hissed. A foreigner. She's everything. Tajun's voice was steel wrapped in certainty. And if you can't accept that, I'll walk away from all of this. The territory, the empire, everything. I'll burn it to the ground before I lose her again. His father stared at Kate, then at his son. The room held its breath. Finally, the old man stood, walked to Kate. She flinched, but Tae-Jun's hand tightened around hers. Then his father bowed. Slightly, but it was a bow. "Welcome to the family," he said gruffly. "Though you chose poorly, my son is impossible." Kate's laugh was half sob. "I know." "The child will be raised with love?" Tae-Jun interrupted. "That's non-negotiable." His father's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Your mother would have liked her." He turned to the Choi family. "The merger is canceled. We'll discuss reparations later. Meeting adjourned." 3 months later, Kate held their daughter, May meaning beautiful, while Ta-Jun paced nervously. The baby had his eyes and Kate's smile. "Stop pacing," Kate laughed. "You run a criminal empire, but a 7-pound baby terrifies you?" "She's so small." He sat, beside them, gently touching May's tiny hand. She gripped his finger with surprising strength. "She's a Ta," Kate said softly. "Strong, stubborn, perfect." Ta-Jun kissed Kate's forehead, then May's. "My whole world," he whispered. "Right here in my arms." Outside, Seoul sprawled beneath them, dangerous, beautiful theirs. Inside, love had conquered empire. And for the first time in his life, Ta-Jun understood what real power meant. Not fear, not control. But this family, love, the courage to choose vulnerability over strength. He'd been Seoul's most feared man. Now he was simply a husband, a father. And that was enough. Would you risk everything for love? Drop a comment and let me know. And if this story touched your heart, smash that subscribe button, because love stories like this prove that some bonds can never be broken, no matter how hard the world tries. What should our next story be about? Tell us below.